Hi, welcome to another class in Boundless. My name is Jacqui. Today we'll be working mostly on our side, and so as you can see I have a pillow, so I encourage you to have one as well to support the neck. The lesson for today is meant to help create a nice lengthening in our back, but we'll be doing it from some gentle movement of the hips. And so I will be guiding you through, if this is your first class with us. Everything that we do is meant to be done in a gentle and smooth and very comfortable way. And if this is not your first class, welcome back. Let's go ahead and get started, and we'll first start with laying onto our backs. So once you're on your back, just go ahead and comfortably stretch out. Now, anytime that I have you stretch out, if it is uncomfortable for your spine, then you're always welcome to bend the knees. But when we have ourselves stretched out on the floor, the first thing is just to get a baseline so that as we continue through the lesson, we'll notice if there's any changes, if we were having a positive effect from the movements. So first, just allow an easy breath. And allow yourself to settle more firmly and gently into the floor. And we'll take just a moment to notice both the left side and the right side. Are there similarities in how the body's in contact with the floor? And are there differences? So if we were to start with the heels touching the floor, do they touch the floor the same way? Or does it have the sensation that one foot is turned out more than the other? Just notice, we're not here to make any changes, but to see how is my body today resting on the floor, and what does it come with its own tensions or tightness. And then notice the sensation of your legs as they're in contact with the floor as you move up from your heels toward your hips. Are there spaces between the floor and the back of your knees? If you do have one foot that turns out more than the other, do you notice that that has an effect on the legs turning out? Or do they feel pretty symmetrical? Or maybe not even, you're not sure. So all of that is okay. We just notice. Allow your breath to remain comfortable and easy. And then notice your hips. How are your hips resting against the floor? Does one side feel that it settles more heavily to one side than the other? Or are they also, do they feel pretty even? And then notice the lower back. Is there a large space between your back and the floor? Does it appear to be the same on either side? And then how does it feel as we move further up with the ribs against the floor, the shoulder blades, the neck, and from the shoulders, the length of the arms all the way out to the wrists and hands. Allow yourself to be more and more comfortable and at ease, settling into the floor. A letting go. And allow for a nice, easy breath. With a nice exhale, release. So slowly begin to bring your feet to the mat, allowing your knees to bend. And you'll notice the hips will want to readjust, and you'll probably will create a longer feeling of your back into the floor. So before we turn on to our side, we're going to do just a little bit of limbering up of the hips and the spine by doing a gentle rocking of the pelvis, what would be up and down. So if we notice where the tailbone is, the tailbone will roll a little bit towards the floor and release. And notice as the tailbone rolls towards the floor, it creates a little tiny arching of your back and a lengthening of your belly. Do this gently, not very big, because this is just, again, a gentle limbering. We're not using this with the idea of a stretching, just a gentle swaying, if you might think of it that way. And then once the pelvis rolls back so it's flat against the floor, let's reverse that rolling so your tailbone rolls gently upward towards the ceiling or towards your legs, and release. And then a gentle drawing it towards your legs and release. And do this a few times, smooth and gently and easily. Noticing that when the tailbone rolls towards your legs, your back presses a little more into the floor. And it makes the belly tighten a little bit. Now, if we were to combine those rolling of down and up, allow your breath to come in when the tailbone rolls towards the floor. A nice belly breath in. And as you exhale, the pelvis will gently roll. So now the tailbone moves upwards towards the ceiling. And then just a little, one more roll, gentle, not very big. And again towards the ceiling. Then let your pelvis just rest and take a deep breath. And now we do just a gentle side to side, and that will allow your knees to move a little bit to the left and the right. So you feel the back of your pelvis rolling side to side against the floor. But again, not aiming to make this a very big movement. We're just warming things up so that when we're on our side, we have a little bit more limberness in our lower back. Notice when you roll side to side, there's a change in your vertebra, maybe a change in your waist and your ribs, maybe all the way up towards your shoulders. So now bring that back to neutral. Allow for another easy breath. Nice release. And now let's slowly turn on to our side. It doesn't matter which side because we'll be doing both sides today. And the main thing that you want to look for is that your spine is in one line. Yeah, so that you've got the hips, the shoulders, and the top of your head all in one line so that we're not rolling too far forward or our back isn't rounded. And then you want to draw the knees a 90-degree angle from the hips. Once you have this 90-degree angle, then open your knees so that your toes kind of peek out from the other side of you can see them from the other side of your knees. And once you see your toes, then align your head once again with the rest of your spine and your hips. And if possible, you want to have the shoulders facing more towards the ceiling instead of rounding towards the floor. But mostly just keep yourself comfortable. Your lower arm can be in any position. And your upper arm can also be in any position. I'm going to have mine a little further up so that you'll be able to see the movement of the pelvis a little more easily. So the directions that we're going to explore to help create a lengthening of our back is a rolling of the pelvis forward and back, and then later up in the direction of our ribs and our ear, and then downward towards the heels. but we'll be doing each of these movements separately to explore that. So first, just resting on your side, and if you want, you can also have your arm and your hand on the floor in the front if you need that level of support. So if we become clear about what direction is forward, can you isolate the movement of your hips to roll forward and the upper body remains still and quiet? So we're just looking at movement from the waist down. Okay? So slow and gently and small at first, begin to roll your pelvis forward and then back to neutral. And do this again a few times, and as it rolls forward, you'll feel a change in your sacrum. And you'll also feel that it kind of pushes your upper leg a little bit forward. And then bring it back to neutral. Pause for a moment, settle, and take a nice breath. And then we'll do that again, forward, gently, forward. And when you go as far as is comfortable, bring it back to the center starting point. And settle. And then one more time, gently rolling forward. And then gently back to neutral and pause and allow for an easy breath. Now we're going to be rolling the pelvis towards the back. So gently roll backwards. And then again neutral. Yeah? So do this a few times of rolling it towards the back, coming back to neutral in a gentle, easy, smooth way. And make sure your breathing is comfortable and easy, and that there's no intention to force or to make the movement any bigger than what is comfortable. But each part of the movement, you want to look for a clarity that you clearly can tell that it's smoothly rolling back and then to neutral, and then pause when you reach the center and let everything settle. Let your spine settle towards the floor. Allow for an easy breath. And then one more time, just gently rolling it towards the back and to the center. Now we're going to combine these movements so we have just one smooth, continuous rolling towards the front and then backwards. So we'll initiate the movement gently forward and go as far as is comfortable, and then follow the feeling as you reverse it towards the back. And continue to do this gently and smoothly, rolling forward and back. And as you do that, register what sensations do you notice of the hip rolling, the changes happening in your sacrum, changes happening in your waist and your belly, and how this movement is happening while your upper body remains relatively stable and still, without effort or force or tension. And that your breath is comfortable and easy. Now, bring it back to the center and pause and settle. Let your spine settle sideways to the floor. Let your neck settle. Allow for an easy breath. And for a moment now, just so that we can see if this little bit of movement that we've done is already beginning to have an effect on our back. So take your time and slowly roll over onto your back. And give a moment for your spine to settle with your knees bent. Then slowly stretch your legs out. Let me take just a moment now to compare. Has there been a change already from just a little bit that we did between the left side of your body and the right? Does one side feel a little bit more settled or long? Or maybe we're not sure. Or maybe at this point there's not much of an effect. It's just this moment we're just noticing. Has there been a change from when we first started? And take a deep breath. And a nice exhale, release. And now slowly bring your feet back to the mat. And once again, roll onto your side, the same side that we were just on. And try again to just very quietly make sure that your spine, your head, shoulders and hips are all on the same line. Your knees are at a 90-degree angle with your toes just slightly poking out from beyond your knees. Your lower arm, again, make it comfortable. And that the head is not bending forward or tilting to the back. Now, this time, you may want to have your hand on your hip in order to help you feel the direction. And so we want to explore now rolling your top hip in the direction towards your rib cage and in the direction of your ear. So explore doing that, and if you're not sure, it feels awkward, you can use your hand to kind of gently push your hip upward and then allow it to settle back down. And once you get the feel for that, do it a few times. Then you'll have more ability to have clarity of that movement, and you may not have to have your hand help the action. And once you have it, just let your arm and your hand rest wherever you would like. And continue gently drawing your hip in the direction towards your rib and your ear. And then when it comes to neutral, take a moment to pause, allow for an easy breath, and then do that again at your own pace, upwards and neutral. As you're doing this, what changes do you notice in your waist? We feel the hips rolling. You may feel changes in your legs. But what changes happen in your waist? What side gets longer and shorter as the hip is rolling up and back to neutral? And how can we do this with less and less effort and minimal feeling of tension? If there is any tension or effort that's building, pause at the neutral, settle your spine and neck. Take an easy breath. And then just one more time, gently draw the hip in the direction of your ribs and ear, and release. And pause. Next, we'll be drawing the hip downward in the direction towards your heels. So think for a moment, what would that feel like? And how do we draw the hip downward? So if it has this feeling like, I'm not sure, then use your hand again as if to gently encourage your hip to roll downward. You'll feel that upper waist lengthen and release. So do this a few times. Again, if you need to use your hand to help you feel the downward direction of your hip and then bringing it back to neutral, do that a few times until you feel like, oh yeah, okay, I'm clear about the direction, and then just let your hand rest someplace else. And gently draw it down and then back to neutral. Pause and let your spine settle. Allow your breath to be easy in and out. And then allow it again to draw down and back to neutral. Do this a few times at your own pace And again, notice what changes are happening in your back, your waist. And that again, it doesn't have to be a huge move, but one in where you have clear sensation that muscles are changing, spine is changing. And then the next time, as the hip is rolling back upward towards the center, then keep gently drawing it up in the direction of your ribs and your ear until you go to the point that is comfortable, and then reverse the action to a smooth drawing of it back down towards your heels, and then reversing it. So now we have this smooth gliding up and down. Looking to make sure that there is less and less effort and more clarity about the action. And what do you notice of changes that are happening in your waist, your spine, your sacrum? Keeping your breath easy. And then once you come to neutral, pause, allow for an easy breath. And then slowly we'll begin to turn onto our backs. Pause with your knees bent, with the feet on the floor, and give a moment for your back to settle. Allow for an easy breath. And then stretch your legs out. And then we notice again, has there been a change? Does one side feel different than the other? And if it does, just allow it to be this way. We don't want to try to fix it or even out. That will happen when we do the other side. But notice from heel to the back of your legs, all the way into your hips, the left side and the right side of your back, all the way into the shoulders and neck. What feels new? What has changed? Okay, so now we're going to set up to do the other side. I will be turning away from the camera so that at any point in time, if you want to review this and you might be able to see my hips move differently from the back side. So I'll be doing that, and all I want you to do as well is to turn comfortably to your other side. So let's start first by bringing our feet again to the mat. And now just gently roll over onto your other side. I'll be guiding you through, so if you're turning away from the video, that's absolutely fine. Since we want you to just be also doing this with maybe with your eyes closed so that you're able to fully sense. Do though check to make sure that your hips and shoulders and neck are all in one comfortable line. Your knees are drawn up at a 90-degree angle, and again the toes are just gently poking out from the other side of your knees. And take a deep breath. Now we'll start the same as we did on the other side, and that is allowing the upper hip to gently roll forward and then let it glide back to neutral. And take a pause to settle again, and then do that at your own pace, rolling forward to neutral, taking time to pause and settle in between and a nice breath. So the pausing is as important as the gliding, so that we don't build tension in between. Yeah. So it's not about how many repetitions that you do, but it's more the quality of the movement and continually creating ease in between, a softening of the spine so that it's not exercising the spine. So take time to roll forward, take time to find the center, take time to release, and take time to breathe. Once you've reached the center, pause. And then we're going to explore rolling the hip backwards. So now gently explore what is comfortable for your hip, your spine, your sacrum to roll it to the back while your upper body remains stationary. And then gently find its way back to the center. And pause, release, breathe. And then when you're ready, initiate again, just the hips rolling to the back. The shoulders stay in place. The ribs comfortably stay in place. And then we isolate the movement of the pelvis back to the center and release. And then again, one more time. Back, center, release. Release your whole spine sideways to the floor and a gentle breath. And then one more time, rolling it towards the back. And then as you come back towards the center, continue to bypass that center and roll towards the front. Just the hips. And then when you go as far as is comfortable, glide the hip rolling towards the back. So now we'll continue a nice, easy, smooth gliding forward and back. Again, without force or effort. And you may find that just minimal feels more comfortable. It doesn't have to be big, and it should never create any tension or forceful feeling in the hips or the spine. Then once you've come back to the center, pause. Let go in the hips, let go in your spine, let go in the shoulders. Allow for an easy breath. And then we now will explore rolling the hip up in the direction of your waist. And it may feel different than the other side. So again, we want to have a really generous respect for what the muscles and the spine are willing to do and able to do that is comfortable. Giving pause when you come back to center. And then a gentle raising up, and notice the changes that happen in your waist as it rolls upward and back to center. And do that a few more times, just at your own pace of rolling up, easing it to center, allowing a real letting go throughout the whole body. And then we initiate it again. And then once you've reached to center, pause. And then we allow the hips to gently now roll in the direction towards the heels. And whenever it is comfortable, return it back to the center. Let go for a moment. And then initiate again, rolling towards the heels. What changes happen in your sacrum, your waist, both the one that's facing the ceiling and the other that's against the floor. Smooth, steady, and gentle. One more time. And then as you're returning back to the center, continue passing the center. So now the hip rolls upward towards the ribs and ear. And then releasing it to center and bypassing the center, rolling towards the heel. So now very gentle, easy, gliding, smooth, effortless. rolling upwards and downwards. And feel the change that happens in your hips, your spine, your waist, so that all of those that are in motion feel comfortable and that there's no tension or strain. Then bring it back to center and pause. Let your spine settle sideways to the floor, your neck, your head, your legs, your sacrum. Allow for an easy breath. Nice exhale, release. And then we're going to take our time and slowly turn onto your back. Easy, comfortably. Give time keeping the knees bent and your feet on the floor so that your hips can adjust, your lower back can settle, shoulders can settle, neck settles. And then one leg at a time, slowly stretch your legs out. And then we take a moment to notice, has the back changed from when the first time that we began? And has it evened out from when the last time we were stretched out? What feels new? What feels different? And give time just to let that sensation register and integrate. Allow for an easy breath. A nice exhale, release. And if you feel comfortable and you want to continue to rest here, please feel free to do so. If you want to continue to rest, but you want to bend your knees again, then I would invite you to do that. In a moment, I'm going to make my way upwards in order to be able to say goodbye. But once the feet have also come back to the floor and the knees bent, you may even feel like you want to draw your knees to your chest, just to give them back a little bit more of a lengthening, a settling. But always after we've done something like this, we encourage you to just find ways of coming up slowly and in stages. So once you've had your knees to chest for a while, if that was comfortable, or the feet have been on the floor and you're ready again to find the next stage in coming up, then I always invite students to just turn onto their side again and rest there a moment. And when you're ready, then we just slowly begin to come up into a seated position that is comfortable. And rest there for a moment so that you have a moment to see what feels new and different being now seated and upright. And then the same process I always encourage when you're ready to come standing, that you do the same thing. And once you're up standing, to take a moment to see, does the spine feel different? Does your posture and standing feel different from what normally you're accustomed to? Okay, so thank you very much for being with me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much.